live streams. Looks like we are live on the live streams. This here. Okay. All right. Let's get rolling, DR. Are you ready? Here we go. Well, good morning, podcasters. Today is Wednesday, June 10th, 2026, and today we're going deep on the news. We're talking about what's happening in the world of podcasting and content creation that every indie creator needs to hear right now. So if you're listening on Clubhouse, hit the share button, top right-hand corner of your screen, and share it however Clubhouse lets you. If you want to join us live on video, you can go to podcastingmorningshow.com/join us. And if you're catching this via podcast, YouTube, LinkedIn, or anywhere else, please share this episode with a fellow podcaster. They'll thank you for it. Now give me about 30 seconds and we'll get things going. Thank you so much for being here today.
The Podcasting Morning Show is powered by Ironic Media, helping podcasters launch, polish, and grow great shows. And by Content Creators Accountant, helping creators build real business behind their content.
Well, good morning again, everybody. Welcome to the Podcasting Morning Show. Thank you so much for being here as I continue leading the charge here with Mark away at camp doing some volunteer work. And currently on stage with me right now, we have DR Fay and Sid Meadows. We've also got Dan Schultz. And thank you for everybody putting me up with the last couple of days as I was on the road. The technology became an interesting thing, but we got through it. So today we're going to get into the news. But I want to start by talking about where podcasting stands right now. And because context matters, these numbers tell a story. And the big numbers, this is right from Podcast Index. Go ahead, DR. I'm not hearing you, DR. Okay, we are going to move away from that then. I'm not sure what's going on there, but we can edit this out. Oh, there you go. Now you go, DR. Now I can hear you.
I'm on Clubhouse, that's why.
Okay, let me do that. Okay, DR, you want to try that now?
1, 2, 3, Clubhouse.
Okay, we can hear you on Clubhouse fine. DR, if you want to go there, that will be fine. Okay, so here's where we were. So let's take a look at where podcasting stands right now. And here are the numbers from Podcast Index this week. So total podcasts in the directory, 4,699,352. And total episodes ever published, listen to this number. I was amazed by this. 162,628,581. Average episodes per show, 34.6. Now let's talk about active podcasts. This is your real competition. Now here's the numbers that actually matter to you. Updated in the last 7 days was 199,805 podcasts. That's down 1.6 from the previous week of 203,023. Now, updated in the last 30 days was 360,100. That's actually down 3% from last month's 371,191. So think about this. Out of nearly 4.7 million podcasts, only about 200,000 published something in the last week. That's your real competition. Not 4.7 million, but only about 200,000. And that number is actually going down. So if you showed up this week, you're already ahead of most people. So let's get right
Did you see this other stat where it says an average last month there was a new podcast episode posted every 0.9 seconds?
Wow.
That's amazing.
I wonder how many of those are those AI things that are going out all the time.
That's a good question.
That's a good question for sure. All right, DR, well, let's get to our top 5 for today.
Okay. So the first chart is Apple's top 5 for science fiction. Okay, science fiction. So number 5 is The Biome. Number 4 is Welcome to Night Vale. Number 3 is Last Resort. Number 2 is the No Sleep Podcast. And the number 1 podcast is, do we have the timpani or no? Okay.
I was doing it.
Okay, I didn't hear it. I'm sorry. Is Old Gods of Appalachia.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
Now, DR, I think you've got another one. Go ahead.
Yeah. The next one is the top 5 podcasts from Good Pods, and it's the educational top 5. So number 5 is, and this one is right in our wheelhouse here, it's the Profit Podcast. That's Crystal Profit, okay? So she has a podcast about podcasting, same as we do. Number 4 is the Mel Robbins Podcast. Number 3 is, there it is, number 3 is the Stupid History Minute, and number 2, shoot, sorry. I'm echoing too. Number 2 is That's Interesting, and the number 1 is NPR's Life Kit.
Well, DR, I'm not sure why you're echoing. I'm not sure what's going on there, but let's drop you out of the live stream then. Maybe that's what's causing it. So let's drop you out of that. Eventually we'll get this to work. All right, DR, well, let's go on. DR had some news that she wanted to share. So we're going to go ahead and go to an announcement. Go ahead, DR.
Yeah. So as some of you Audacity users, the editing program, Audacity, as some of you know, there have been like update after update after update. They're really, really trying to make it a viable, editable DAW. So if you would like to like a good look at what Audacity 4 is like, then you want to tune into Mike Teaches Audacity. It's a YouTube channel. That's the actual name. Mike Teaches Audacity. And this is where he gives you, Mike Adams gives you a step-by-step lesson on how to use this new version, and which is still in beta, by the way. Mike Adams happens to be one of the nicest guys in podcasting that I personally know. He is my go-to for anything having to do with Audacity. By the way, this new Audacity 4, it reminds me a little bit more of Hindenburg.
Well, that's interesting. I never used either one. Did I lose?
Well, I'm a heavy Audacity user, and change is hard. So I'm going to have a hard time, but I know that I'm going to go through Mike Adams' channel, and it's going to make it a whole heck of a lot easier for me.
Well, that's fantastic. Nothing wrong with that. All right, well, let's get to the business bite for this week.
Quick tip, smart move. Yeah! Content creators business bite!
All right, well, usually Mark introduces me, so I'm going to introduce myself and get right to the content today. So I want to give you your business bite for the week. And this one hits close to home for a lot of indie podcasters. Here's the bite for today. Podcast ad revenue is at $2.5 billion. It's a big number. So why is the average indie podcaster still making under $500 a month? And here's a number that should stop you cold. Like I said, podcast advertising, $2.5 billion. That's in 2026. Now, the IAB projects another 9.6% growth on top of that this year. Brands are spending more on podcast ads than ever before. But like I said, the average independent podcaster still earns under $500 a month. Now, if you're like me, you're wondering, how's that possible? Well, let me break that down. Here's what the ad market actually looks like in 2026. Mid-roll ad reads, those are the ones in the middle of your show. The gold standard. Those run $25 to $40 CPM. Now, CPM is cost per thousand. Now, if you're lucky to be in finance and business shows, that can command anywhere from 50 to 100 CPM. Now, if you're thinking about that, you're like, that sounds great. It sounds great until you do the math. Think about this. A show with 10,000 downloads per episode at $30 CPM mid-roll earns about $300 per episode. That's from one time slot. Here's the issue. Most indie podcasters aren't at 10,000 downloads, and most ad networks won't even look at you until you hit 5,000 to 10,000. So then we pivot into these programmatic ads. the ones smaller shows can actually get. Here's the problem with those. The CPM for those are $3 to $15, not $30. So here's the business lesson. The ad money is real, but it flows to shows with scale, not shows with passion. So what does that mean for you as an indie creator? It means that ads are probably not your first revenue stream. As we talked about on Monday, it means direct monetization, your own products, your own services, coaching, consulting, or memberships is where the real money is for shows at your stage. A show with 500 loyal listeners and a $500 coaching offer can earn up to 50,000 downloads, and programmatic ads can actually make money. If you think about it, the industry in general is chasing scale. Your edge as an indie do-it-yourself podcaster is depth. So let's talk about it. Have you ever tried to land a sponsor and hit a download count wall? Does anybody want to comment about that in the chat? Have you ever tried to land a sponsor and hit that brick wall? Does anybody want to comment on that? We are very quiet today. Quiet makes me nervous. Well, anyway, we can get right back into today's news. So that is your business bite for today. And DR, if you want to handle the next one, let me hit the news music here.
Thank you. Okay. Edison Research says Netflix and Tubi are already showing up as podcast destinations, but the numbers are still early and a little bit uneven. Now, in the first quarter of 2026, Edison added both the platforms to its podcast service tracking. Among weekly U.S. podcast consumers aged 13 and older, 14% said that they'd used Netflix to consume podcasts, while only 4% said the same about Tubi. And just as an aside, I went on Tubi looking for podcasts, and I could not find them anywhere. I found them all over the place on Netflix. Netflix couldn't find them on Tubi. Okay, that is, now those numbers are notable, but let's not start printing Netflix killed podcasting mugs just yet. YouTube and Spotify still dominate this space with 64% and 42% respectively, saying that these used those platforms for podcast consumption. The bigger story is that video streamers are no longer just flirting with podcasts. They're buying it, making deals, and trying to turn podcast audiences into platform audiences. So some of the highlighted points is Netflix has already made major podcast moves, including a deal tied to Jay Shetty's On Purpose. Tubi has lined up podcast content through deals with AudioChuck and SiriusXM. And Edison says that the second quarter of 2026 results will show whether these early numbers grow as more platform deals roll out. I still couldn't find anything on Tubi. Have you tried to look on Tubi for podcasts?
I have not, but I didn't even know what Tubi was until you put this in the notes today.
Oh, I like Tubi. Tubi is like, are you familiar with Pluto?
No, I'm not familiar with that one either, actually.
Oh, I'm sorry. So these are, they're free services that have a lot of shows on them, and Tubi has really updated itself from when it first started. And but like I said, I'm having a hard time finding podcasts on Tubi. And oh, big news, everyone! I finally put down the money to make YouTube a paid version of YouTube. I finally did it. I took a look at some of my subscriptions. I let go of some, and I gained YouTube.
Good job, DR. That's fantastic. Well, let's go ahead and move into our next news segment. And this one says, podcast discovery is now a full-time job. Video podcasting is giving creators more places to be seen, but it's also making discovery more complicated. Now, this is a Reuters Institute report says publishers are moving more shows on the platforms like YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Netflix as audience spend more time watching podcasts, not just listening to them. The shift is opening new doors for reach and revenue, but it also means creators now have to think like podcasters, video producers, social teams, and yes, platform strategists all at once. Delightful. Another hat for the already exhausted creator closet. Now, why this matters. Podcast growth is no longer just about getting into Apple Podcast or Spotify. Discovery is becoming more platform specific, which means creators may need different strategies for YouTube, for clips, for connected TVs, for audio apps, newsletters, and even search. Now, here's some highlights from this story. The move towards video is strongest for conversational stories. And if you think about it, that makes a lot of sense, especially personality-led formats. Those narrative and documentary podcasts are harder to translate into video without losing what makes them work. Now, video can help build stronger host-audience connection, but it also raises production costs. And publishers are looking beyond ads, including memberships, events, merchandise, and bonus content. Now, if you'd like to comment on any of these, please put a 1 in the chat on Clubhouse, and I will be happy to bring you up on stage and you can make a comment. But here's my question for the room. Does video make you feel more connected to a host, or does it change the feel of the show? I really think that's what we need to decide on today. So go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, the thing about being connected to the host, I truly honestly think audio is always going to have the win when it comes to being connected, because it is just so intimate. And video, it's neat because you can see the people, but like right now, like I've noticed even with you, Ralph, like during the last couple of days, because obviously we've been having some technical issues here and there, and on the video stream, I could watch you and I could tell like, Ralph is in the mode where he's juggling too many things here trying to make the show work, right? So you're not, and this is no cut to you, because this is literally how anyone, the most famous newscaster in the world would be acting like that if during his live show things were not working and you couldn't hear people and there was an echo, and you know what I mean? Like, but on audio, you can't hear it. And that's where the intimacy, I think, happens with longer term audio. That's just when we were talking about a little bit about enhancement or engagement and kind of connecting with your audience. The one thing I wanted to kind of bring up about this whole thing about discovery being a full-time job, I'd say about 4 seasons ago on our podcast, we had a smallish team. And one of the jobs, I wouldn't say full-time, but it was a pretty big part of her job, was one of our team members was all about discovery. And I would end up having to work with her quite a bit. So it was like 2 of us doing it. And I noticed that our numbers kept going down and down and down. And I'm like, well, why are they going down? Why aren't they going up? And finally, I came to the realization that the more time I'm dicking around with discovery and her helping her do her thing and me trying to figure out how the different, channels work, I was not spending time on the show. And as soon as we just did away with that and we made our team smaller, and I just thought, well, me and my co-host can do all this stuff, our numbers started to go up week after week after week. And then we just doubled down with that. Wow, if I can actually spend more time doing this. So I stopped doing a couple social media things, still focused primarily on one channel, one social media channel. Now our numbers are like drastically moving up. And, we are primarily an audio first podcast, but I do record a video, have it ready. We're using our video for more of a Patreon type of thing to get people into Patreon. But I don't know. That's my take on it. What are your thoughts?
Well, thank you, Dan. No, I think that's a very good point. And I want to say something that Tim put in the chat. He says, Netflix podcast sucks. Well, that's a very strong statement, but I think that's fine. John, I was listening to John's show this morning. They record on Monday, and he was talking about moving back to Apple Podcasts, and I thought that was really interesting. And the other thing that Tim said is it changes the feel. Most of my podcast listening is audio only. A video makes me feel like the host is playing to the camera and not talking to me. And I thought that was a really interesting thought. Does anybody else want to comment on this particular news story? But Dan, I think you're right on point. I think there is an intimacy to the audio. It looks like John wants to join us on stage. Let me go ahead and, John, did you want to go ahead and make a comment?
Yeah, so I have a love-hate with video. Video's harder. The reason that I do video is for the audience interaction. Like right now, wake up in the morning, I come listen to you guys. If I go back and I miss it in the morning, I listen to it as a podcast. I don't go watch the video because I'm sorry, guys, video doesn't add anything to the program. Watching you two guys or all you on the screen doesn't add anything to it. So to me, I listen to podcasts in the car or while I'm doing something else. And I understand that people think that this is, and kids watch stuff today, but I still think they put it in their pocket and walk around. And the reason that they're watching or using YouTube is because it's the only thing they know. Like the olds with Facebook. All the old people are on Facebook because they don't know how to go anywhere else.
I think that's a very good point, my friend.
Can I comment on that? Because
Label
John,
us
it's really
as-
funny.
Did you just
Um,
wait a
oh,
minute? Did you just label us as the olds?
I'm part of it. Yeah, I'm the olds too. And my podcast
The olds?
is marketed to the olds, and the
But
problem is they're all
I'm
over on
not quite
Facebook.
sure I like the label though. I think I don't mind boomer, but the olds? I'm
Yeah, I
not
know.
quite sure I like that.
I was gonna say real quick, what it's funny what John just said about like most people. He thinks I kind of think this too. People listening on YouTube or video are put the phone in their pocket and walk around and are listening to audio because that's one of the true awesome things about podcasting is that you can multitask. And with video, you really can't multitask. You kind of, it's designed to sit there and keep your eyes on the screen. But so I actually do agree with you, John, about that. But I do think it's funny, like when somebody on a podcast that I'm doing that with, and all of a sudden I hear a stupid whoosh, some kind of thing that a noise, like a sweeper noise that pops up, and I get mad because it's like, let me stop, pull my phone out, and look at the screen just in case somebody put a graphic or an overlay up that I'm supposed to pay attention to. And it's like, you could have just done that audio wise and like just be a better communicator and explain what the thing is that I'm supposed to look at. And then at that point, I'm thinking like, why are we spending so much time on video?
I think that's a
You know what I
legitimate
mean?
point, Dan. No, I think that's a legitimate point. I got to play it, because the truth is sometimes words are hard in the morning. And I just had to find it here. There it is.
Words are hard in the morning. Did I say that out loud?
So I played it for myself. Well, DR, we're going to go on to the next story if you'd like.
Sure. Okay, I like this story. Okay, the new Coleman Insight study, and that's an organization that I have not heard of before, but the new Coleman Insight study says that podcast trailers are more likely to make people listen when they sound clear, energetic, and authentic. The research tested different trailer versions from 4 shows, including Superfan Diaries, Binge or Cringe, High Rollers, and Better Than Yesterday with 500 US podcast listeners. The big takeaway is not exactly shocking, but still useful. Listeners respond better when a trailer quickly explains what the show is, sounds like the actual host or show, and gives them a real reason to care. In other words, a trailer should not sound like a vague movie promo written by a committee trapped in a conference room. Now, this matters because for creators, trailers are not throwaway content. They are often a listener's first impression, and this study suggests that clarity and personality may matter more than slick production alone. So the highlighted points are the study compared multiple trailer styles across 4 different shows. Listeners were asked what they remembered and whether they intended to listen. And hosted and authentic sounding trailers appeared to create stronger interest, and clear topic framing helped listeners understand the show faster. So here's my question. When you hear a trailer, what makes you want to keep listening?
I think that's a great question. What does everybody think? Does anyone want to comment on DR's question? Because what makes a trailer effective for where you actually want to listen? I can speak for myself. I know if it's something that
Mhm.
is engaging to me, if it's something I have a genuine interest in, and to me, I really need them to sort of set a table for something that I don't already know. So I think that's something that works for me. I know I see Yvonne put in the chat here. I really don't listen to trailers. It's interesting, DR, because I'm running an experiment right now on my daily show. I decided to do an ad buy on Player FM. And rather than posting a particular episode, I actually posted the trailer as the episode. And the people from Player FM actually called me. They're like, wait a minute, nobody ever does this. I said, well, let's try it out
Cool.
because I think it would be really effective. And it has been amazing. I am going.
Really, how long is it? Can I ask how long is the length of it?
Yeah, the trailer is about 1 minute, 30 seconds. And
Okay.
it's what's interesting is I thought, well, this may just generate people listening to the trailer. But what it's actually done is it's taken my downloads and 5 times them in the last four within it, this is an ad I did from June 1st to June 15th. And the numbers have been amazing. A show that usually gets a small number is now getting 5 times that. And I thought, well, this would be interesting because if the ad is only playing the trailer, then I would say, well, that shouldn't dictate to the rest of the show episodes, but it's not doing that. It's actually going out to other episodes. So that's where I think effectively your trailer works really well. And I see Yvonne put here as an ad, but I think the trailer makes great sense. Thank you, Yvonne. Does anybody else want to comment on this news story before we move on to the next one?
Well, so the other question about the trailers is, should a creator update their trailer every year or only when the show changes?
Another great question. Go ahead, Dan. You got a comment.
Okay. So I know a ton about trailers because that's another thing that I actively changed. And as soon as I changed my, we don't get access to a lot of stats, as everyone knows in podcasting. But when I looked at my Spotify discovery funnel, as soon as I made this change in my trailer, like literally the day I made the change in the trailer, it moved up my intent to listen, or no, not the intent to listen, or whatever the second part of the funnel, like the people who actually saw my branding and the thumbnail that actually listened and didn't bounce right away was because I I redid the trailer. Number one, I do it for each season of our show. So whenever our show does a major change, I definitely change it. But ironically, it's mostly the same. I just changed one minor thing. So what the purpose of the trailer is, I mean, if you're a new show, it's how you set up your podcast to get found in the directories and everything. You want to have your trailer there. So the RSS feed is built and it's just there. But when you have a running show, like our show just started season 11 yesterday, and what the trailer has to do, it's kind of it's in advertising and marketing, it's all about congruency. So when you see an ad for something, you want to click the ad and you don't want to freak people out. People click the ad and when they land at your landing page, everything has to be congruent or they're going to leave. It doesn't matter if you're selling t-shirts to grandmas or you're to the oldies, or if you have a
To the
podcast.
old.
If you have if you have a podcast and the trailer sounds like X, and then they listen to the show and the show sounds like Y, that's a major problem. So our show, it's a banned book podcast where we actually read the banned books out loud and then try to figure out why they were banned in the first place. So we have a lot of moving parts with our podcast. So what our trailer does is explain what they're going to get. You know, we kind of explain it. I do it like in a minute. It doesn't take all that long, but you just want to make sure that there's no, like, everything sounds the same. So this season we're reading The Handmaid's Tale. So the trailer that I'm just putting up today is going to be like, hey, we're Bandcamp or a comedy podcast where we read banned books out loud, try to figure out why they were banned in the first place. This season, we're reading The Handmaid's Tale. It's a really dark book, and we're a comedy show. I'm not exactly sure how it's going to work out, but you're going to hear us bumbling through it because we've never read the book before. Find us, at blah, blah, blah.com every Tuesday and Thursday, blah, blah, blah. Like you have, and then it sounds like our show. Like we're kind of bumbling through the trailer too, in a way.
Right.
And it's all about congruency. And then the only thing you asked, like, should you change it every season or whenever your show changes? Exactly. Next season or last season, it was basically the same thing with different music that matches our current theme. And we just said, we're a comedy podcast where we read blah, blah, blah. This season, we're reading The Catcher in the Rye. Right. So it's just like a different thing, but it's more of a how to. Here's how our podcast works. Here's the kind of things you're going to get out of it. And here is the audience that should be listening to it. Thank you. I'm done speaking now. Everyone comment on me. Go on. I'm waiting. Oldies, youngies, middle-aged people. Cricket sound. Where did Ralph go?
Are you there? Where did
now
Ralph
I'm here.
go?
Okay, here we go. Sorry,
Okay.
I'm trying to figure out.
Ralph, I'm laying down the gold.
No,
what are
Dan,
you
you've
doing?
done a great job, dude. I am so out of kilter today because people are telling me they're hearing an echo. I'm trying to figure out what's triggering the echo, and I'm about ready to just throw my hands up and say, I've had enough of this. And I'm just being funny. But it's getting really frustrating, so I apologize if anybody's hearing the echo. I'm trying to make this work out. I'm back in my home studio, so I'm not sure why it's doing it, but we are going to figure out how to resolve it. So let's go ahead and move on to our next next story. Words are hard in the morning, aren't they? Nope, don't play that one. All right, and our next story is podcast metrics are getting a reality check finally. And that is a story that we're going to skip because we covered it last time. I told you, I am off my game today. Well, let's get into this next story, and that is your great content isn't enough anymore, and that's actually good news. And here's the headline. MIT says 65% of marketing work is now AI exposed. Now, for podcasters and content creators, that's not a death sentence. It's actually a filter. The shows cutting through right now aren't the most polished or prolific. They're the ones only one specific person could make. They're the ones about your opinion, your voice, your actual lived experience. And Google is actually moving towards extracting content for AI answers. Click-through traffic is already shrinking. Content creators rank 5th on the list of jobs most exposed to AI automation. Large agencies are already losing clients because generic high-volume content stopped working. And the real audience building platforms, YouTube, Reddit, Discord, Patreon, not your website. So let's talk about this. Let me ask the room this question. If AI can handle 65% of your content tasks, what would you actually do with that freed up time? And we've talked a lot about AI here. So let's talk about what you would do with that content. Does anybody want to comment here? If you could get back
big ass, I would just take a big ass nap.
You would take a what, DR? Go ahead, Nikki. I see you want to comment.
Yes, I was just going to say that for me, I used to think, I heard someone say this the other day. They said that AI, when it first came out, that it made them 10 times more quote unquote productive. And I said to myself, wow, well, that sounds good on the surface. But for me, I tried to utilize AI to be super productive, superwoman, posting all this stuff, using AI to generate this and that. And it didn't work for me personally. Now, it may work for somebody else or for other people, so I'm not knocking it. But for me, it didn't produce like what I thought that it was going to do. I thought that if I could be in 50 different places at once and be posting all the time and generate all this content, then maybe something would catch. But that really was for me the exact wrong recipe to do, because it wasn't about the volume. And I realized if I could produce a ton of volume, so could everybody else. So then it just became more senseless content in a sea of senseless content that no one actually came up with themselves. And it was actually exhausting me. It was exhausting me to the point where I had to completely stop, because I thought, well, if I go on ChatGPT and I say, okay, generate all my content for the next month for LinkedIn, for Instagram, for Facebook, for Pinterest, for this, for that, that I was just going to become this auto machine and just be like super successful. But it absolutely wasn't that. It wasn't freeing up my time. It wasn't freeing up my energy. It wasn't liberating me in any sense at all. So I had definitely had to change things. And now I really don't even use AI to post my content. What I will use AI for is, if I am really busy, I will write out my own posts, but I will put it into AI, and I'm a good writer, so I don't necessarily need a proofreader. But I know that if I'm not 100% focused on what I am writing, I know there's going to be a typo in there or something. And so I'll put it into ChatGPT and I'll say, hey, just proofread this for me real quick, just to make sure that it's okay to post online, and it'll do that for me, and it makes the good suggestions. And so that way it's a tool. It's not the worker bee doing the things that I should be doing, aka exercising my own mind. And it's also helped me to avoid a lot of burnout by looking at it that way. So for me, it wasn't about productivity, it was about quality.
I think that's a really good point, because here's the next question I had to talk about, and Ty, this goes along with what you're saying. If AI can handle 65% of your, how much of your show could a stranger recreate with ChatGPT and a decent mic? That's the thing I think we're really battling against, and I think that's what we're feeling right now. Is there are so many content creators that are just dialing it in with using ChatGPT to write their content, to write their blog posts, and all that sort of thing. And I think we're losing this connection of people. Did anybody else want to comment on this particular story? It's a really interesting thought if you think about it. All right. Well,
Well,
go ahead.
it's Reza. Hi.
Good morning, Reza. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. I wouldn't be able to do a lot of things with AI, to be honest. Like, I just want to say, like, for me, it's more than productivity. Like for my daytime job, I work in tech, and for that, like, I don't even know how people used to do the reporting that I can do with Claude. So that's just my comments. Not much, but I'm just saying. I wouldn't be able to do what I do right now without AI. I'm just very dependent on AI.
And Reza, let me just say this. I'm right there with you, my friend. AI is a main part of the content that I do, because I do so many things. I can't even imagine trying to do that if I wasn't using AI to help me. That said, I think that what this story is really bringing out is it's all about our experiences, the stories that we've had, the things that we've lived. Because if we don't lean into that as content creators, then I think we're going to lose our place. And I think that's the big concern, is if we don't lean into that and we just let AI dictate it, then you're going to get to a point where 100% of your content is going to be AI. Well, let's go ahead and move on to our next news story. DR, I'm going to have you read this next one.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so video podcasting has officially hit peak parity, and that changes everything. Now, the source for this is Edison Research, which is the gold standard when it comes to podcast research. And here's the headline. For the first time ever, as many people watch podcasts as listen. Now, we just had a conversation about this, about people tuning into YouTube and putting the phone in their pocket. About 82% of weekly podcast listeners now watch the video. 78% listen to audio only. Basically, that's a tie. And it happened all in under 3 years. The audio versus video debate is over. Your audience isn't picking a side, they're doing both. Daily podcast listeners average 5 hours and 11 minutes of audio per day. Podcasts are 36% of that. 76% of weekly listeners took action after hearing a podcast ad. Shifting ad budget to podcasts lifted words are hard in the morning. Okay. Shifting ad budgets to podcast lifted reach among 18 to 54-year-olds by 41% with no extra spend. And 62% of listeners say AI threatens credibility. 59% worry that it kills creativity. So let's talk about a little bit. Do you actually know how your audience is watching or listening, or uh, are you just guessing about the whole thing?
Now, that's a really good question, isn't it?
And I'm hearing a heavy echo on me.
You're hearing a heavy echo now?
I'm kind of it's kind of in the background, but I still hear it.
Okay. Does anybody else want to comment about this parity now that we've reached this level of parity?
And let me ask, if you're not doing video yet, is there anyone here not doing video yet? And why aren't you doing video?
I think that's a real good question because I switched to video for mine, DR, and I think it's really been an effective thing for me. Now it's interesting. You want to talk about HLS video? So I'm on Captivate, and I'm not throwing Captivate under the bus, but I have 4 shows on Captivate, and for some reason on my one weekly show, they cannot get this HLS video to work. It's working on my daily show, it's working on the content creator show, but they cannot seem to get this thing to work on one of my shows. We've been battling back and forth with Apple. This stuff is so new. I think they're still struggling both on the Apple side and on the hosting side to make it work. It is really, really interesting.
Interesting.
I would agree. Well, let's go ahead. If no one
What
else,
you got for the next? Yeah, what you got for the
let's
next
go
story?
ahead and let me hit the music stinger because we got to play the music stingers, right? We got to do that.
That's right.
Okay, so we're going to move on to story number 3 in our list here. AI content flooded the internet, but expertise didn't come along for the ride. Here's the headline, and this is from Forbes and something called Elevate IT Now. It says 86.5% of top ranking pages now involved AI generated content. And we just got to park there for a second. Just think about what I just said there. 86.5% of top ranking pages now involved AI generated content. So what it's telling us is that companies are publishing more than ever. But the problem with it is it all sounds the same. The issue isn't that AI writes badly. It's that everyone's using it. The average became the floor, not an edge. Here's some more stats from this particular story. 84% of companies using AI in content don't disclose it. But here's the problem. Audiences are already suspicious about that. 87% of AI content goes into blog posts. The top complaint there is generic and flat output. Creators winning use AI for research and ideation. It's kind of what Nikki talked about a few minutes ago. Then they add their actual perspective on top of that. But brands pairing AI with genuine human insight consistently outperform pure automation. So let's talk about this. When you use AI for your content, how much of the final result is actually you? Does anyone want to comment on that? Nikki, I know you had made a little bit of a comment about that, so go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say that for me, the blogs are where I draw the line. I draw the line at the blogs, and I also draw the line at my podcast. And what that means is that I don't use AI for these things. Now, when I say I don't use AI, what I mean specifically by that is I do not use AI to write scripts. I do not use AI to write the blogs, and then I just post the blogs, and then I tweak it a little bit to meet my meet my standards or put my personality or spin on it. I do not use AI for any of those things on my podcast or on my blog. Now, will I have AI proofread something just to make sure that there's no typos or something major that I've missed? Yes, I will do that because my brain is operating on all cylinders all the time. And so sometimes a little mistake like that, I just need a little bit of assistance to catch that. So before I go out and post, because I tend to be kind of impetuous a little bit, like I want to get it out, I want to get the content out. And if you've ever been that type of person in your life where you're sending an email and you hit send and then you reread the email that you sent and you're like, damn it, like why did I put this in there like this, why did I say it like this, or this mistake could have been avoided. Like that's me. I do that all the time. And so now I'll type out my email. I do write my own emails. And I'll type out my email. I'll say, "Hey, ChatGPT, can you either clean this up for me, or can you proofread this just to make sure there's no mistakes?" And then I hit send, and then I'm much more confident with the message that I am sending, and that's a good thing. But I do not use ChatGPT to write any or create any of the content. So particularly for blogs, if you go to my site, turningthetidetutoring.com, and you click blogs, all of those blogs were written 100% by me, 110%. I do not use AI to write those blogs because number one, I have better ideas than AI does because I'm coming up with real personal experiences that I have lived, real stories, real moments, and that's what is going to resonate with people. So as an example, I just posted a blog on LinkedIn the other day, and the outreach of it, the impressions got like, it was like 451 impressions, which for me is pretty high. 451 impressions on one post is good. And I also got a comment from a lady who um, had a response. She had a reaction and a response to the blog herself. And that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for that authenticity, those real reactions. I'm not looking to post a blog just for the sake of doing it. Now, I do understand why someone might use AI to write a blog that comes from a podcast. So, as an example to that, for some people, they'll film a podcast and then they'll go on ChatGPT or whatever AI they use, and they'll utilize AI to write the blog that's inspired by their podcast. I personally don't do that. I have nothing against it at all because at least you took the time to make the podcast, and the podcast was you, and all you're doing essentially is synthesizing and condensing the information into a very readable format for the reader. So ChatGPT isn't creating the information and the message. You're the driver of that. But for me, I do draw the line at my own podcast and my own blogs. Where I will use AI for the posting aspect is like specifically for LinkedIn. What I will do is I have my own LinkedIn newsletter now, and I will write my own blog. I'll post the blog into ChatGPT and I'll say, hey, can you write an announcement letter for my LinkedIn newsletter based on this blog? And then I'll post that on LinkedIn. So that part is written by AI on the LinkedIn newsletter, but the blog itself is written by me. So I just draw the line completely on my podcast and my blog.
Thank you, Nikki. Yeah, it's
Hey,
a very
Nikki.
valid point. Go ahead, DR.
Do you put any kind of disclaimer, is not the right word, but claimer that this is written by a human, no AI used or anything like that? Do you do like a little something like that?
I have done that before, especially in the beginning when ChatGPT when it first came out, and I was like super anti AI at that time, and I was like, oh, not written by AI, not written by AI, and I kind of wanted to be proud of that. But when I started to utilize AI, my position and my stance on AI certainly softened, which I'm sure it did for a lot of people too. So I don't put that on the stuff now, because the reason why I don't put the disclaimer on there now that this is written by AI or this is written by me is because you can totally tell. It's not hard. You can totally tell.
Mhm.
So, like, if you look at my blog, you can 100% tell that it was written by a human being. Number one, I would say because of the language. It sounds like me. It just has sentences and syntax and verbiage that are just very human and very real. I also have my own little quirks and stuff when it comes to using ellipses and different grammatical structures and ways that I personally write that are just very human. And then the other piece is that there's one of the ways that you can tell that something is written by AI is when somebody uses the word matters, like this matters. You can always tell when somebody uses AI because they said this matters because or
Mhm.
whatever. That's a very AI generated thing. You can always tell someone utilized AI when there's a what's it called, a contrast statement. So a contrast statement might be, it's not this, it's that. You can always tell that they used AI for that. You can sniff it out pretty quickly. And like I have
Mhm.
a friend who he's a huge novel reader, pretty huge novel reader. I mean, reads a novel like a week. And I'm talking like a 400, 500 page novel every week. Well, anyway, there's this sort of controversy about this one book that he's reading, he was telling me about, where they think that the author may have utilized AI to generate at least some parts of the book, maybe a chapter or two, or maybe half of the book. We don't know. And he said, I'm going to read this book because I want to be able to snuff out the AI usage if there is any. And I will be able to tell if that's the case. And you can always tell because the same phraseology, it's not about the M dash. A lot of people talk about the M dash, but it's not about the M dash or a grammatical structure specifically. It's more about the language patterns. AI has very distinct language patterns, and when you hear people using it or talk, you can tell when someone's reading something that's AI created. You can tell when somebody's writing it. It has very distinct patterns that you can follow and predict. You can predict these patterns, and so then you know it's AI. But with my blog, there's nothing like that. There's no predictive language, there's no hypnotic language, there's no contrast statements, there's no nothing like that. So I don't put the disclaimer on there for that reason, because I don't need to. When somebody reads it, they know that it's me. And I don't try to sound like AI. Like, if I post on LinkedIn, for example, this will be the last thing I'll say, but if I post something on LinkedIn, I'll say, hey guys, this is me, and I just wanted to let you guys know that this is what we're doing today at blah 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 12:15. And it's just it's me. It's very informal. It's very casual. That's how people can tell. And my impressions on these posts go from like 5 impressions from the AI generated ones to the ones that I write to 60 impressions, to 115 impressions, now to 400 and 500 impressions, because of the way that I write that immediately resonates with someone. So I don't need to put the disclaimer on there anymore, because you just know.
Thank you, Nikki. I want to go to Dan because Dan wanted to make a comment as well, but that's a very good point, Nikki.
Yeah, I ain't gonna top what Nikki just said. Like, that was a master class in, that's just really good. I will add on one thing. Just like Nikki just said that she doesn't have to use a disclaimer because when you read her stuff, well, Google knows everything. And back before AI was a thing, Google still knew everything. And it's just how SEO works is just kind of fundamentally different. Now, it seems that Google is looking more for real people. And if everyone is writing content based on what AI tells them, it's like you said earlier, Ralph, it's all going to be the same because nobody actually delves for a deeper dive into the stuff they're asking AI. Like, if you're asking a question or you want to answer a question like how to blah, 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 90% of the people are going to go to ChatGPT and say, how do you blah, blah, blah? Okay, we'll turn that into an article for me. That's just different forms of duplicate content. When the reality is, the answer. I mean, you can use AI maybe to find the different topics or questions you want to talk about or that maybe people might be looking for. But if somebody asks me how to blah, 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 I'm just going to say, here's how I do it. And I just do my own version. And I'm not trying to impress anyone with how clever my words are. I always try to talk like just a normal guy because I'm a normal guy and I'm going to use, this'll instead of this will, like just like just does it sound like a normal person? And as soon as you do that, it just makes everything better. And Google, you stand out to Google because, well, here's somebody who's actually answering a question that isn't like everyone else. You can use AI then maybe if you want to clean it up a little bit, but because they are also using AI, their own version of AI to, rank everyone. But and the other thing, just because Dave mentioned, responsibility on creator to disclose, I just literally wrote AI policy for our business and our podcast. I didn't put it up yet. I just literally did it last night in bed. I was thinking about it. We use AI, and I just basically say something like this. Look, we use AI because we're a very small podcast. We've been doing it for 11 seasons. We don't have the staff to do this. We primarily use what little AI we use it behind the scenes, like for marketing or outreach or things like that. And because we do use that and we're trying to be responsible, we've made donations to 2 different groups. One is, believe it or not, I mean, it's weird. Greenpeace is one of the leading groups that are fighting the ecological damage to AI. They have an entire division, and it's like I use Perplexity, ironically, to look it up. Like, they're like the best at that. And then we also make a donation to this thing called the this sounds really funny. The Algorithmic League of Justice. No, the League of Algorithmic Justice. We're a superhero movie. But they are fighting. They're just making sure things are in place to not let people say they're doctors when they're not doctors, or, not let big companies come in and steamroll their way into everything and start making policy for everyone. And we just say, look, we're doing that because we're trying to offset our smallish footprint that we're using, AI for. I don't know if that helps anyone, but I think you want to be out front with that, so because people are going to have comments on it. So you might as well address it in the beginning.
And absolutely, Dan, I agree. I just want to tie this all together. There's some observations I had about all three of these last three stories. And here's the thing, here's my takeaway on this. The stuff AI can do at scale is becoming worthless. The stuff that only humans can do, real expertise, genuine opinion, authentic connection, that's where we're starting to see value. And if you're already working in the only format where that translates, you're already doing that. Audio, real conversations, real personality, real stakes. Stop trying to be better at what AI does and get better at being you. And I really think that's the way that we want to end this today. I just want to remind everybody to make sure you join us tomorrow. We are going to have second Hall of Famer of the week on the show tomorrow. Dave Jackson's going to join us tomorrow from the School of Podcasting. And I've asked him to come on to talk to us about how to prepare as a host to build a remarkable interview. So make sure you join us tomorrow. I promise you the technology, I think we finally figured out what was causing some of that echo and bleed through on the live stream. So make sure you come back and join us tomorrow. And until that, I want to encourage everybody to have a great day today. Thank you, everybody, for being here today.